Like aura, but with love in it.
Keeping that in. Welcome back to the Isaac Abrams Show, everybody. I'm your host, Isaac Abrams. Today's very special guest, returning from episode 32, is comedian, actor, philanthropist, second-time philanthropist, and now fiduciary, Laura Rishell, everyone.
It's quite the title.
Welcome back.
Side quest on side quest. Thank you.
Side quest.
Side quest. To being an expert.
We're singing side quest songs.
So we can't sing.
That's right. Contrary to most of our recent comedic episodes, guys, today we talk about business and fiduciary stuff. And we get deep, philosophically deep about who you surround yourself with. Please follow Laura at
Joy of Laura.
Joy of Laura. Follow her along on Instagram. You can see her ski dogs and her fiducian.
My fiducian and my ski dogs.
Watch Laura fidouche them ski dogs. Enjoy the episode, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Fiduciary.
Fiduciary. That's the dirtiest business word. I'm going to go take a huge fiduciary.
Can that be that's going to be my slogan under my website.
Yeah, come take a huge
fiduciary. I need you for my business consulting
Dude, I am available.
I am realizing I want to blend comedy with finance.
You have to.
And it's going to be called Funnance.
Funnance. Making finance fun again.
Exactly.
See, get red hats that say make finance fun again.
Stop.
Yeah.
I'm going to start paying you. We're going to get this together.
Let's do it. We're going to.
I know. Where's my notebook? I'm always someone with a notebook. Put it on. Make finance fun again.
I'm going to attempt to wear some glasses.
Oh, you look good in them.
I got these for Christmas.
I love it.
I got 6 pairs. It was a little much.
No, it's not. Those are like the belts and the watches. Like they work. I'm a glasses person. I don't need them. But I have realized if I don't, it's like my Clark Kent mode.
Right.
If you want to tap into a higher identity, glasses can help you with that.
Yeah. No one recognizes me when I wear these around. So
you're in disguise.
Which was kind of a bummer because I went to a comedy club the other night that I wanted to be recognized at. I wore my glasses and then I was like, fine. And I took them off and everybody was like, dude, Isaac, when did you get here?
You're like,
and I was like,
the judgment I always made on Superman was like, really, you don't recognize him but then you're living it.
It's real.
It's real.
I am
you
Superman.
Are Superman.
It's crazy. I can't fly yet, but
it's gonna happen.
Maybe soon.
Make Isaac great again.
Yeah.
You're already great.
You know what? Thank you. I accept that.
You are.
Yeah, I learned how to accept things yesterday.
Listen, you and I haven't seen each other in almost 4
years.
4 years.
November 2019, episode 32. Check it out.
We've been through episode 32. It's a
wild ride.
It's a wild ride.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back.
Different version. Thank you.
Tell me everything. What's happened in the last 4 years other than being number 65 on 100 Humans?
That's my biggest victory.
Right. But that was pre-Squid Games, right?
Yes.
So how do you feel about that? Do they feel
that is a cool bring up because it's not often I didn't market that I didn't put it on social media. I didn't tell many people that I had that experience.
Yeah, I saw you on the promo and I was like, what?
Yeah, I've had some funny moments where like people randomly DM me who I haven't heard from in a while. I was like, am I insane or is this you? And it's like a picture of me like
making your casual face.
Yeah, like
that's gonna be the thumbnail.
Yeah, please. And I came out to LA, and when you and I were on 2019, that was just a couple years of Laura being fresh into living back in Los Angeles, pursuing what background in criminal justice, and I wanted to give it a go, right, of what I figured a midlife crisis would bring me if I didn't pursue these side quests. And that was acting, writing, and comedy. And found, like any good opportunist, myself as like an extra on a show that seemed intriguing, a social experiment show. It was absolutely like being on the Stanford prison experiment. If anyone knows psychology a bit, where it put those people through some things. It was very much like, it was very interesting. Let's just say you're there for about 2 weeks, 14-hour days. Truly, once you're on set, you're just known as that number. Like number 65, you bring up, but it was like in this weird social prison experiment because you're all of a sudden in the same outfit. You're stripped of. So it's in a reflection back. It was a great opportunity in ways to understand yourself and I guess what is your identity and self-importance. At that age, I didn't have that reflection. It was being in the moment. And that moment could be overwhelming. And at times you're around anyone from the age of 18 to like 65.
Wow. And
that was feeding for me because I love people and the diversity of that. But it had a lot of interesting experiments that I think any reality show, it starts to like manipulate you and take you to, and it's very intriguing the ways that those productions can want to create good entertainment.
Right.
So I feel like they would have had a way better show if they had actually just had hidden cameras with the humans and just left it at that.
Yeah.
Because that's enough on its own. Sticking humans together for 10 hours together between other times you're separated with no phone, nothing but yourselves. I mean, it was funny. The ways people pocketed in their groups, the high school dynamics that would come out in people, the ones who started crushing, people who had steady relationships started to cheat and started to I mean, very interesting. I met a guy on that show who was like my best friend. We ended up dating after and having a relationship for a while, and so it's really funny, the experience. All in all, I mean, the ones that stick out was the torture experiment, which I volunteered for because I'm maybe a masochist. Being the youngest of 4 girls, I'm like, that can't be worse.
Right.
Do your worst.
Yeah. What do you got?
What do you got? Like, you haven't met my sisters.
What kind of torture was it? I'm sorry. I didn't watch the show.
How dare you? Oh my God.
All right. We'll be right back after I watch the entire season of 100 Humans.
That's the reason I didn't market it.
Yeah.
You know, they took you away. I think it was like 12 hours. I don't know. Time got weird. No food. Put you alone. They use light, really bright, crazy rigged lights on you. And I didn't leave my stool for those entire hours. I was on a steel chair for like 10 hours.
Wow.
They made sure you weren't sleeping. So you weren't like allowed to sleep. So they wanted sleep deprivation. They wanted light, either pitch black or bright lights up and on at different times. Noise. There'd be a crying baby for hours, like in your ears, or a weird children's song that those 5 of us that got tortured still remember, believe me.
Yeah.
The joke is that later when I saw my mom after that experience and I went back for the holidays and my nephew was in the car, and I love him, and I figured so excited to see him, but she's like, that show really affected you. And I was like, what are you talking about? You know, she's like, I can tell that you're not as patient with his crying. And I'm like, maybe you don't realize some of the psychological repercussions.
Gets in there.
That maybe fresh after that show, I had a little bit of patience I had to work back with, like the sound of a screaming baby.
I just talked about this on my last episode, but we did babies versus old people. And from being on so many flights recently, I absolutely can't tolerate the sound of a screaming baby on an airplane. Tune it out anywhere else.
It's a part of psychological torture where I think if you're a parent out there, I can't empathize because I don't have children yet, but I sympathize from some experiences where that can mess with you.
I think the sound of your own baby crying must have a different resonance frequency in your brain, because there's got, at least, from a motherly instinct, it's got to be like, I got to take care of this.
Right.
I don't know if it's the same paternally.
That's a good,
or the other 79 genders. I don't know what they feel about their children, but
I always say that. Well, we're gonna go there. There's a joke when like people have dogs and they're like, "Oh, he's such a good boy," and they're like, "It's a she," and I'm like, it's very interesting how with animals, people get sensitive. They want to gender correct. That they know it's the right animal.
Did you ask the dog? Did you ask Fluffy?
Did you ask Fluffy what he identifies as?
That's funny. I'm going to put that in my stand-up.
Steal it. I'm not on the stage anymore, brother.
Our dog's binary. Oh, funny. Now I just want to write that joke. We'll be right back after I write my set for Saturday. I'll be at the Improv on Saturday. This will be long. That'll be 2 weeks ago after this comes out. But Hollywood
Delayed
Improv.
gratification, another subject.
That's right.
Well, I mean, we could tangent off so many of these. This is what we're good at.
This is going to be
We haven't seen each other in 4 years, and we
right.
could hit on such a spectrum.
And we are on the spectrum.
Because are we Are we neurodivergence? That's the new word I've learned.
It is, but that makes me think of the pills that Joe Rogan sells.
The horse
The
pills?
brain, alpha brain.
Don't know it.
It's got a nootropic in it. So when I hear neurodivergent, I think nootropics. I took it for a little while.
Anything?
It made me feel like 17 cups of coffee. It was like, oh, everything's... So the reason I smoked cigarettes was to slow my brain down.
Have you been diagnosed ADHD?
I was one of the first kids to be on Adderall in the 90s. Excuse me. First 100 in the United States.
For real? Mm-hmm. Look at that.
That's how I remember it. Is that true? Probably not. Probably not true at all. I say a lot of things as facts, and I just got called out on it recently. But I grew up without the internet, where I could just say things, and people would be like, wow. And now people pull their phones out and go, that's not true.
See, it's so hard to be a fiduciary nowadays.
Yeah, I can't take a fiduciary
You can't drop
anywhere.
that fiduciary anywhere.
I don't fiduciary in public. I only do it in homes and hotels.
Understood.
Yeah.
Digest that.
We'll be right back after you digest that. All right, to get us started, this might spark some stuff. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 would you rather questions. Are you ready?
Let's hope I can be decisive, because I'm going to psychoanalyze each of these for 10 minutes.
These are pretty cut and dry.
Okay, I'm ready.
I specifically selected these for you.
Okay.
Would you rather ski in the mountains or vacation at the beach?
See, I'm such a dualistic thinker. This is why the first one already gets me. I'm going to still go with mountains. First gut. I like ski in the mountains. Ski
in the mountains over taking like a vacation at a tropical destination. I'm going beach. I'm going beach all day.
It's so tough. I love the warmth. I need that vitamin D.
I've heard that about you.
Who you talking to?
You. I talked to you.
Mom, it's not true. But
is Mom watching?
She'll absolutely watch.
Hey, Mom. Good to see you. Good to be seen by you.
She'll pray for me, though.
Yeah.
But this is for you, Mom.
Yeah, rats are Satan.
Not today, Satan.
Oh, I can't read.
Possums.
Possibly.
This is if you watch the first episode 32 that we did four years ago, and you get to hear me say a possum poem that you really shouldn't go back and listen to. It's another form of torture if you want to listen to it.
If I ever torture someone, I will play that.
Yeah, you should play that on repeat.
Yeah.
That's actually a great idea.
That's not bad.
But yeah, I'm going to just go with my gut. Mountain.
Okay, great.
I grew up doing the mountain. You do Mountain High, not far from here.
That's not far at all
and
from where we are.
Snowboard and then the hot tub and mountains. I got snow dogs, so that's it.
That would make sense with the snow dogs. Would you rather read minds or see into the future?
See into the future, which is, I try to do both. We're both in our heads all the time, I'm sure.
Right.
That's already exhausting enough. We don't need to read other people's thoughts.
The first thing I think of when I think about seeing into the future is going to Vegas and playing craps. It's like, I know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
I'm going to bet accordingly, and then I'll make my fortune and call you to be my fiduciary.
Exactly. We're going to overuse the word well.
And then I'm going to mega cut fiduciary, and put a little counter on how many times we say it. I won't do any of that stuff. Would you rather have a nosy neighbor or a noisy neighbor? Let me try that again. Would you rather have a nosy neighbor or would you rather have a nosy neighbor or a noisy neighbor?
I'm glad I didn't have to ask that question, because my speech issues growing up, that would have triggered me.
Yeah? Do you have an impediment?
I did. Probably still do. If I get tired, exhausted, excited, or tipsy, the lisp in the impediment comes out.
I have been working with a gentleman with a speech impediment for the last 6 months.
You're like the King's Speech guy.
Yeah.
You're preparing the next king of America.
I stutter when I'm around this person.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy. It's contagious.
What he taught me also was that, because I was like clicking a pen or like doing some rapper stuff, and he was like, listen, I'm not trying to be a dick, but like other sounds, like music is fine, but like a distracting sound can cause, what's the other word for stuttering? An incident?
An episode?
No.
A manic?
No, it's like a less of an intense word. Anyway.
Relapse?
Just cause
we're not there.
We don't know what it is. People at home are like, it's called a thingy.
So the
noisy or nosy?
Would I rather have it?
Would you rather live next to?
Noisy.
Really?
Absolutely.
Because I feel like I could be private enough to be like, mind your business. But if you're loud, I can't do anything about that.
I have a piano. I have 4 dogs that run up and down the hall.
You're the noisy neighbor. That's why you don't have any nosy neighbors.
Oh, I have noise. I have nosy. I've had nosy about the dogs when my dog escaped when I first rescued her. And this lady looks like, and I mean this kindly with a Christian heart, the replica of the Rat Man on Harry Potter.
Wow.
She is a character to walk around. I'm surprised she's still alive. And she rarely comes out, but when she does, it's like,
where's the dog?
Where's your dogs? Take care of your dogs better. Ugh. And then another where I became the nosy when a woman wasn't cleaning up her dog shit in front of the yards and stuff. And I'm like, I've hit that age where I'm sitting trying to do a nice devotional in the morning about Jesus, and then I look up and this eye twitch starts to happen. I'm like, she's not going to pick up her, really? So I'm the woman in a bathrobe. You're going to pick up your dog's poop.
That drives me nuts.
She went ham on me. It was a very interesting morning.
What would you, there's no defense.
So the reason I did that was because our sweet neighbor John is an old man who asked her to do that, and he tends his gardens in front of the house like every day. And I'll become the neighborhood watch when you disrespect the community of people I'm close with.
Right.
John's a homie, and he doesn't mind the noisy dogs because he knows they help guard the house and their security in LA nowadays. But yeah, this biatch was just letting her dog deuce everywhere and not pick it up. And I watched her take a leaf after it deuced, wipe her dog's anus with the leaf, leave the leaf on the ground, and leave the poop on the ground. Mental health.
I'll do the same if people let their dog shit on the beach.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, it's the beach. Like, who
Respect.
Who
wants to step on a dookie when they're running and trying to feel sexy in the sand?
Sexy sands. Make the beach sexy sands again for the first time. All right.
I'm glad you gave me a pen and a paper just so we can both
click
deal
and
with our
snap.
clicks and snaps. When two ADHD people meet for a podcast.
When worlds collide.
Neurodivergence.
Nootropics.
Taking over.
Yeah. Would you rather have no eyebrows or no eyelashes?
Oh, man. Eyes are the nipples of the face. So this is a hard question.
I've never heard that before.
I told you everything's going to be duality with me. Would you rathers? I'd rather have eyebrows.
I would rather have eyebrows also.
Yeah.
I don't know what eyelashes do. Their function. I also don't know what eyebrows do.
I could tell you one fact for all you at home what eyebrows can do better than eyelashes.
Okay.
They can actually speak a language for the deaf. This is yes, an eyebrow deaf language.
Oh.
This is no.
Right. It does help make expressions.
No, it's true.
Yeah. And
this means expression in sign language, and I was going to be an interpreter, and you realize your eyebrows are a large part. So how do deaf people communicate if they don't have eyebrows? It's a good question.
And eyelashes just keep dirt out of your eyes.
Yeah.
It's the only function I can think of.
Yeah.
Would you rather live in London or New York City?
Been to both. Both weren't my favorite destinations to visit.
They're both cold.
Yeah.
And very industrial.
Exactly. I think London, because I just love to have me a good old beer in culture.
I also agree with London because I think
London,
British people understand sarcasm a little bit better.
Oh, their humor actually is a great point.
Yeah.
East Coast people think I'm East Coast because the dry sense of humor, but London, I've never had people that understood my humor more.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Nah, you had that?
Yep.
Same.
Would you rather, this is the last one, would you rather have free movie tickets for life or an amazing home theater?
Now it's become home theater. I've been an AMC member through the COVID war, and I'm still holding on to it.
The COVID war. We're back to COVID, folks.
That's our next.
Yeah, we're going to get into it.
And I'm really close to letting that one go right now. And, you know, you feel like you're just holding out for the film industry and all that, but I keep trying to go to these films out there. It was two people. It was just me and my partner in the movie theater for Aquaman just released. And you're like, obviously Aquaman. But you're like, man, it's a little sad.
Is that out already?
Yes. See.
We'll be right back after I go see Aquaman.
Yeah, home theater, no doubt. Again, dogs. Now life revolves around being able to have the homies with you.
Yeah, I look forward to the day where I could have a partner that stays home so I could have a dog.
That's the 3 things I said. So be careful what you wish for. I said my own space where they have backyard and room, a partner who can help with that. I forgot the third.
So 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Do you think that would you consider that manifesting? Like when you're like, oh, this is a 2, 3.
I absolutely, that all came around a very impactful, like I had a vision of the space, and that's level up, right? When you live in life, I think it's between the balance of growth and gratitude, where I wanted to maintain, like trying to be grateful for the things that you have, instead of comparing to the things you don't have. And on the other side of that, the growth, where you shouldn't settle too long in that. And let gratitude become complacency, and then being able to grow and manifest, or a vision. We were talking about vision, have a vision of what you want and those desires of your heart. And I definitely desired, after I figured out having my own flat during COVID, during when people told me I'd be crazy to take on that financial responsibility on my own. And it was very stressful. But you show yourself, you see your colors, and I had my own flat, and I had a porch finally. That was the upgrade to that moment, and a little fireplace in that. And it was a very nice apartment. And that was really an exciting, and I just was there a year. But now the porch became, I wish I had more light. I wish I had more ventilation in this space. I don't like being near all these people. I feel exposed. You have the weird neighbors trying with prostitutes next door, to the ones trying to reel you in. You want to smoke a joint? I'm like, tempting. But you also have a revolving door of some suspect people. Yeah. And just things that you want to level up. Next was, I want a backyard. I want more space. And that opened up at the same point. Within 2 months, this dog literally came into my DMs.
You got DM'd by a dog?
I got DM'd by a dog.
Wow.
River Dirty. Her name was like Tamika at the time or something. Just didn't, I was like.
You pulled a rebrand on your dog?
Oh, absolutely. She needed it. That ratchet dog. She's a husky, but she was on the streets for 3 years.
Wow.
And she showed it in the first month with me, but now she's probably having anxiety that I'm away from her for like an hour. Changed my life, though. You know, I think animals are beautiful, where they can kind of, especially rescues, I feel like that's how it happens. They kind of find you. Yeah. You have to have that intention and have some of those things in place. I just got into that space. Just started dating more consistently, the man I'm still with, and he had a pit bull that was, Lucas is a killer, but also a cuddle bug.
Yeah.
So
I want to rewind a little bit to what you were talking about with growth and complacency.
I love it.
Because I've been thinking about this a lot in conjunction with receiving what you think you're worth. So to get that started, I think that like as you increase your own like mental worth or self-worth, then that gives you the ability to like receive greater gifts, or at least get yourself available. Like you're never going to make $200,000 a year if you don't think you're worth $200,000 a year.
Absolutely.
You're never going to ask for what you're worth if you don't believe that you're worth. But then there's that fine line of like, this is Los Angeles. Everybody thinks they're worth $10 billion, and then they don't want to work for it. So what kind of thoughts does that spark for you, where it's like, as you increase your self-worth and you grow your business, do you find yourself receiving greater gifts?
It's a beautiful question, and I like the direction we're headed with this anyways, because 4 years ago, you could see even just the beauty of capturing voices and putting it out there and what you're doing. You see growth, tangible growth. I re-listened to it and I thought, wow, I reflected, I felt like a girl then. I was more of a girl. And since that, I've really come into being more of a woman, to try to not make a joke. It's really hard. Depth and humor.
Right.
My two favorites. And to be honest, I've always wanted to be perceived more as a deep thinker and someone who can be able to express that more freely rather than use humor to, I think, let your light dim because you're afraid it's going to project wrongly on others and you're too worried about other people's perceptions of you. And that goes aligned with that self-importance and identity you're getting at, where is about the beauty of going through experiences. So I like the quote where it says, a wise man wishes never to be young again, because through that you understand experience hits you. And I think for both of us, we haven't been able to catch up, but a lot has happened in those years that have grown me, have been absolutely the hardest years of my life. And and when it comes into accepting that you deserve goodness, that can be a really hard thing when hard things happen to you.
Yeah.
And I think just believing deeply that you still deserve to have what you want, to not let that dream die, to not let what you feel like you had in that childlike state of like when you were less tainted and jaded by the world,
right,
as a child is, that's when you ask them, what do you want to be? They have a purity to them on that vision of their future in the world. And the way of the world can start to belittle that. And people can belittle that in you because they're belittled already. So it comes with, I think the things that have helped me, if I'm getting back to the question more succinctly, it does come into personal growth and being someone who's a steward of that, I believe, daily. Even if you don't feel it doesn't mean you're not going to have bad days. Right. It doesn't mean you're not going to have days your self-esteem feels like it's in the dumps, where the finances aren't matching what you want, right? Where you're like, I feel like I could be worth $200,000 to sit with someone and maybe be a coach or whatever. And here you're looking at the reality of dog food that could feel too expensive. And that can be hard for a lot of people, especially now with inflation and things driving up and being those enemies to, it's like the adversary of growth but it also could be that which propels you and motivates you. Right. So creating self-motivation, that's a journey.
Yeah. Self-starting is super hard, which is why I think a lot of people don't want to work for themselves. They just want to go get a job and be told what to do.
That's exactly what I went through. And I have had to truly have patience with myself to understand I haven't been an employee for a couple years now. Hey-o. And through that, I mean, that was a really tough transition because we're in a system that has created that for a very long time, to finish college, to get a job. And there's a cash flow quadrants Robert Kiyosaki talks about. You can be an employee, self-employed, a business owner, and an investor. And you want to get to those right side of the quadrant as a business owner and an investor. And yet all of us want that, but how? Right. And I do believe, I was talking to someone I'm coaching right now, and she is in that stage right now, freshly, and she got let go of her job right when she's learning the business that I'm helping her with. And that can be very fearful, especially if you don't have something to fall back on. Yeah. But you're never going to find someone successful who didn't have that feeling of fear to have to overcome and push into themselves and believe that you can do it. And it's definitely going to be helped with at least having, I think, one ally. You got to have one person.
You really do. It's amazing what you can accomplish with like just one person that believes in you.
Yeah. You don't need a huge group of friends because they're actually going to make it worse. Yeah. How many times in this business I'm in now do I see people don't take that step with me because they listen to, I put it bluntly to someone the other day in a message, let's see if I can get this right. Well-meaning, but lack mindset.
Right. My favorite expression is, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you show me your 5 closest friends, I'll tell you exactly where you're going to go. And that's over the last 2 years, I've just reset like where my intention is and who I'm going to spend my time with, because it's fun to party at the beach with my neighbors, but they're all very happy in what they're doing. They're all like in their jobs and they like to party on the weekends. Great. That's fun for holidays and weekends and stuff like that. But like for where I want to go, I want to surround myself with the top, most successful comedians in the world.
Absolutely.
But I want to dive back into something that you mentioned early in that response, which was that you want to be thought of as a deep thinker, but you also enjoy comedy. So like, how do you balance those two? Like, I feel like I come across as a pretty serious guy, but in my head, I'm always making jokes and I'm happy on the inside, but I have this like bitch face. People are like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I'm laughing inside. So, but you seem like someone who's laughing outside, but also wants to be taken seriously.
Right.
What's that juggle like for you?
That's been the journey of girl to woman in some ways to me, and realizing I didn't need to put on a show for everyone to make them feel better. A lot of the time that was for me to deal with grief. Humor was kind of my shield that helped my own inner dialogue or challenges. I mean, I reflect to even my mom, who was going through a very tough time through a divorce and being a single mom. All of a sudden, we were in a very challenging time. Like, her and I were living in a garage. And I was maybe 13 or 14 at the time. We had 2 huskies and like 3 cats, and it was one of the most special times for her and I. But when you reflect back, it was difficult. But some of my best pranks were around that time. And I'm glad she's still alive, because one was a stairwell and she's all right.
Oh, wow. More on that.
More on that. And she would be crying, and it became, and she knows this, so I think it's nice to be in a stage of transparency now, because transparency is really what I want this year to be about, is going forward in honesty and really intention. And a part of that transparency is I started to become angry and deep on the inside to so many levels that my sound of my mom, here we are to crying again, crying started to anger me a bit. And usually when you first could hear someone you love crying, when it becomes so common, it starts to harden you and callous you in some ways. Also harden me towards the one who felt was doing that to her, where I learned the concept of pain shifting then. And that was leading up to the killer uncle. So it was all a good preface.
And for the story on the killer uncle, listen to episode 32. You can start at minute 40.
Minute 40. Get past the possum poem, please.
Yeah. You can enjoy the rest of it if you like, but if you want to hear the killer story, don't miss that.
I know. Isaac had no idea what he was bringing to the table.
Dude, it was awesome.
And so, to get quickly to it, if that's possible for me, I use humor and jokes to help my mom. And then that would be an incredible ally with healing. And also, it can also deflect healing. And so when it comes to depth, I had to realize that I don't always need to be the funny one anymore. That little girl side of me that did it to make others feel better, not feel uncomfortable. I hate people feeling outcast. If there's awkward silence, I could be the one to fill it. I really love the outcast, the person who feels, I say I love it, but on the side, I think I felt that's where I had meaning and value. But that doesn't pay the bills.
No.
Not at all.
The thing that sparks to me is that the journey that I've been on for, I don't know, maybe we'll call it a year, is that the balance between wanting to be the comedic relief and then making myself small so other people can fill the room. And I'm trying to balance that now, because I don't want to just take up the space in every room that I go into, but I also don't want to make myself small because of what you're dealing with. I'm empathetic to what you're going through, but I no longer want to make myself small for anyone. Does that resonate?
Let that sit.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It's
Let's let that sit in silence, because we don't have to fill the room.
Because it's a podcast and we don't need to keep talking for a whole hour. No, I don't think I'm articulating it well, but I think you get it instantly, because I think we're very similar in that way, where like someone's going through something, so you automatically want to like joke around and be the clown, where maybe that's not what they need. Sometimes they just need to go like someone to listen. Maybe like being quiet could be more beneficial. That's what my boyfriend's
had to learn, is like, if I'm having a mode, I don't call it an unloading now. So if you're having, this is some relationship advice.
And now it's time for relationship advice.
From a fiduciary. It's that conversation where a man just wants to fix, and the woman's like, I just wanted you to listen without giving me things to have to do. But that's that Venus and Mars moment. And so it's very powerful with what you said, and I think a lot of people should understand that, is finding who you are is, I think, what a lot of people are trying to figure out among things that tell you you should be doing this, you should be this social media looking person, you should, like, trying to find that authentic version of you. And that's still, I think that's always going to be something.
That's a lifelong journey.
That's a lifelong journey, and having some grace on yourself with that. But not belittling you is, I think, very, like, belittling yourself. And comedians tend to self-deprecate and make themselves smaller. And there's a relation in that. And I had to learn I don't always need to relate to everyone. And I'm very able to relate to everyone because I have experienced a vast range of experiences. And that would probably feed my ego at times to be able to relate to everyone on something. But realizing I don't need to fill the space all the time. I don't need to be the entertainer around the fire pit. To be the watcher, to be the listener. And absolutely being able to realize if you're around the right circle, like you talk about those 5, then that's another way you can control that feeling where you don't have to limit yourself.
Right.
And you don't have to be in a setting as often, and you can kind of control that. You can control. And if not, then be alone.
Yeah. And a lot of people can't be alone. I mean, we have constant entertainment on our phones, constant entertainment on television, radio. Like, there's very little silence in our lives. So, like, to be able to just sit. And I think this is why meditation has just blown up over the last couple of years, because it's like the only time during the day that you're just sitting with your own thoughts. I mean, I grew up without
It kind of sounds like torture for me, though.
Sitting in silence?
No, I think I like silence, but I'm never silent. My own head dialogue. The joke is, even when I'm sleeping, I'm not sleeping, but it's not a joke. I'll have vivid dreams or nightmares daily, like where I wake up. I didn't have rest. I'm like, why am I tired at 8 a.m.? Because I just defeated a war, and I became the emperor, and I also rode the back of a killer whale that drowned me, and like my brain felt like that was all real, and I wake up and I'm like, you wonder what some of our heads.
I think some of that is real. I think we go somewhere when we dream. I don't know, there's no like medical reason for us to shut down for 8 hours a day. I think we just transport to another portal and we ride whales.
It's so eerie.
Yeah, and some of us don't feel rested when we wake up.
I remember when I tried some therapy, I was talking about someone, she's like, I don't think you should be Googling your dreams.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh, okay. Like, it's good to talk about it with your trusted person, maybe to let it vent. But I guess, yeah, the trail of Google could start being like WebMD.
And what does Google know that you don't know? Google can't. Right. It's your specific blend of life experiences created in a dream state. Like, yeah. Google can't tell you what that means. Between the
conscious and unconscious, it's a very interesting thing to want to discover and figure out. But I've let some of those things just, let it be. And it has gotten less.
Now, going back a little bit more to one of your first answers, you were talking about things that we deserve. Mm-hmm. And I have a problem with the word deserve personally, because I think you deserve what you work towards. And I think a lot of people have unrealistic thoughts of what they deserve.
There's a word for that you're getting at with me.
It is called, I'm thinking, I can see it, but I can't say it. Does that make sense? I can see the word in my head.
People feel like they do.
Entitled.
That's it.
Yes. And maybe I'm getting those two words mixed up. Maybe I'm more like negative towards people that walk around entitled, because I think if you work hard, you deserve the fruits of what you labored.
So it depends on what you put, I guess, as, to me, the words of deserving. So I do believe you deserve to be loved. Mm-hmm. Now, that could be something where then you could say that to yourself, where it says, then I deserve to love myself. And if that's where you start with the word to be positive, I think that's important, where you deserve, among where I said to know you could still have good things if you've done bad things. But I'm very much aligned with you on not enjoying self-entitlement in people. Absolutely working hard for what you've earned. I think that's the trouble we're in, is people are promoting a bunch of ways to get rich quick, And that's just not the reality, and it's actually doing people harm to believe that that's, you know, e-commerce to whatever, that you can pick up that side quest and do quickly. In 6 months, I made $2 million. And I'm like,
did you? One person did it, and then they sold a course on it, and then all of a sudden everybody's trying to do it. Yeah, I've fallen victim to so many get-rich-quick schemes in my whole life. Who hasn't?
That's a problem I have when I work with clients now, and I've had to sit there and understand that and be like, believe me, I mean, I was trying to be an actor as a kid, and if it wasn't almost being sex trafficked, you're then losing all your money or your parents' money for an opportunity that's not really real, to being in college and spending $1,000. You know, I happened to a family member not long ago, like, I was gonna drive to Houston and it's this modeling gig, and I'm like, hold on.
You ain't driving nowhere.
Yeah. You ain't driving nowhere. And that's where I talk about being intentional with your time, your money, everything, because that's your value to yourself. When you start having a very high identity, you stop believing you deserve all that crap. And that takes that time into building in that, is having that identity to recognize that you do deserve better. And I think the world has definitely put us in some place of a weird mix between entitlement and I don't know if sin's the right word, but going through life's difficulties has put us in a place that we don't deserve to have what we want.
Right. I think social media has given us all a little bit of narcissism too. Oh, yeah. Where it's like, well, I posted a picture of my lunch. Why didn't I get a brand sponsorship deal out of that?
Man, I saw a video. And you see perspective, right? Where my brain always sees with film, like, oh, it's so cool what they must have done to make that shot. But now on social media, I'm like, I understand that's the partner filming a person, making the guy, or not making the guy anymore, sit there and be like, saying a script, and then it says, when did influencers become little psychologists? Because I like the idea of, I understand content when it's about relating. And then it makes people feel less isolated because they all of a sudden recognize, oh, I feel that way as a couple too, and I want to follow what they've done to help with that situation that was very real to what we just dealt with. But there is, I'm sure we've seen the cringe plenty of just people becoming, take the narcissistic that's flaring up.
Yeah. When you talk about relatability, my comedy career started as a comedy photographer, and being in the back of the room listening to the number one thing I hear from an audience member when they're laughing the hardest is they tap their buddy or they tap their neighbor and they're like, that's so true. So it's like the relatability was what I think causes an involuntary laugh response, where it's like, oh, I didn't see it that way, but that's happened to me and I can relate, and now I'm releasing some of that stress and laughing. And I think relatability is what causes some people to go viral.
I think that's one of the main aspects to combat depression and isolation. I think there's a gift in finding that you're not alone. A content creator put out her crazy dirty home as a parent. That's going to feel a lot more relatable on a social media presence for people who are watching people with the perfect organized canisters and labels, and they're like, and all of a sudden you feel like you're less than because your house is a disaster. So you feel all of a sudden relieved and more human when you can see someone who's put out content that feels like you're not alone and you're not failing. That's maybe where we're headed in a better way with content. People start to follow, I think, people more when they feel that they're more authentic to who they are and real. That's what I'm trying to find in my own business, is how to keep a high identity and present a certain way where you do feel like you've reached some milestones that you can help others then get to without going to their level, because you've worked hard to get past certain levels. But on the same side, that's the irony, is you need to then, that's charisma, as they talk about, is the definition of charisma is being competent and creating warmth with someone. So that's a balance to figure out, the same way with humor and depth.
Yeah.
And being able to find that golden line, that's, I think, how people figure out maybe income streams that start to come in, and coachability and how to coach others, being humble but being an expert. That's big to me because no one's ever, to me, a full expert.
Right. I don't feel like an expert on anything, even though like I have a career almost 2 decades long in the film business. I could be considered an expert there. I could be considered an expert podcast producer. I produced over 1,000 episodes of podcasts.
Exactly.
I'm just some guy that knows how to podcast. I don't feel like I am an authority on anything ever, but I do also feel like I tell people what to do a lot. And
yet, here you are where you could even give people intrinsic value of something you've worked really hard to have to go through, even on a camera and audio setting, that other people don't even want. They're going to have to try to YouTube or research or work years to figure out what you could then give someone in a training for 10 minutes because of what you've suffered to learn. And that creates an expert. That's intrinsic value. You have a part of another form of what I respect in someone I'm going to want to learn from is someone who has that humility, where I know they're also on a trajectory that's going to grow, and that I think now in my life spot pretty quickly, and I like to used to say I'm like an ego killer. Maybe that was a little bit on the feminist side of like, if I saw a man who, and wanted to go one for course with me on an intellectual stimulating conversation and feel smarter, and that's rare to happen, but when it's fun on those topics, I'm not going to engage in that if I can feel like I recognize my ego doesn't need to engage in that if it's about who's more intelligent or who wants to belittle you to make you feel less than. That's that narcissist.
Yeah.
And recognizing that humility is a major player when it comes into, I think, success principles.
Yeah.
And when you mention the narcissist, we're in Los Angeles, which is a very opportunistic environment, which can get you into a lot of trouble, as well as create a lot of opportunities. I went through both.
Yeah.
Absolutely found myself susceptible to different opportunities that I thought were going to be good, and they were places that put me in a very low self-esteem.
Yeah. It's highly predatory in Los Angeles. There's many, many multi-billion-dollar businesses that just prey on the thousands of people that move here that want to offer you a quick ride to the top or the middle. And all they do is just take your money.
Or your soul. Or your body. And use and abuse the purity that you came in with. Needless to say, I went through a lot of that. It's a big reason I kind of took a step back from the film industry, the comedy circuit. I definitely went through that with a predator. And I thought I was already going to be smart enough to not have that happen again after what already happened to me. Being like, oh, that was a great lesson. I now know a narcissist or a predator when I see one because it was my uncle.
Yeah.
But I think God loves to, maybe not God, there's just lessons that you're going to have to repeat, maybe to learn deeper, so that hopefully I take it with light that you can help others more with that in the future. But when it comes to the narcissist pursuit, even the pursuit of me wanting to go down those different opportunities started to impact me on that level of realizing when you're going to try to build yourself up, that can be a very narcissistic energy.
It's a tightrope walk.
Tightrope walk.
Yeah, because I've been on a journey also. I keep saying journey, but I don't know what other word to use. But I read this something or whatever a couple years ago, and I decided I'm going to kill my ego. But a certain level of ego is good. A certain level of ego helps us like go and at least try and achieve something. It's like, I believe I can do that. And you need a little bit of ego for that. But I've realized that at least the thing that I've learned this last couple months is when I get home from tour, it'll be like a Sunday or Monday night. I'll go to the local bar and everybody's like, hey man, where you been? And my ego wants to be like, I performed at theaters this weekend. And then I realize they just want to hear, man, I was just, working. Because it comes off as braggy or braggadocious or whatever. And then I realize, oh, these are like Fight Club says, these are my single serving friends. These are the people that my real friends aren't around right now because they live all over the country. And I'm just going to have some community and a drink. And it's going to be what it is. I'm going to have this beer. I'm going to have superficial conversations about football. Yeah. And that's it. I'm going to go home.
It's so true, because now I'm around a circle I'm very grateful for, where I actually have a mentor who makes 7 figures passively in business. And he built himself into that. So all the ways that I had expectations of if I'm ever going to use the word mentor, that's still very tentative for me, because to me that I've realized now that could mean where you see them at least in a business side of that mentorship. But I also want to see spiritual. Where do I value someone on that spiritual level? Where can I learn from each of these people who have become, in essence, kind of experts in those fields? I'm around that circle where when you're there at the cigar club in Beverly Hills, it's a different environment.
Yeah.
And I was there about 2 weeks ago as the only female around just a group of high earning men with cigars, very elite club, right? And what's cool about that experience is I actually ended up having a very deep conversation with the man next to me, and he ended up in tears talking with me. And of course, my boyfriend was like, "What are you doing at the cigar club? This guy's crying next to you.
I can't take you anywhere.
Can't take you anywhere." And I'm like, the Holy Spirit was just working in me. No, but I haven't prayed over someone in a very long. But the beauty of that was a moment of literally looking at him. Here's a very high earning man, and it has his hands in music labels to this, that, and the other. And I literally was this moment of identity, right, where you're like, I am nowhere near this level, but you want to be around that circle. But now you're in that feeling of, I don't want to fake it. I'm not that's huge to me. I don't want to act like I'm, but on another side, you do want to tap into that energy a bit, because there is a truth to fake it till you make it. And we can redefine that in some ways. But all of a sudden I looked at him and I stuttered in a way. Here's that speech issue but it was because it didn't feel right even coming out, being like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Because it felt so superficial.
Right.
And I knew already it wasn't the right question to ask a high earning. And all of a sudden he said something like, well, and he already had a response because he's a high leveled person with humility. And all of a sudden we quickly came to that point of saying, yeah, that's such a superficial question that that football talk you get so sick of and you get so exhausted of. And that's what I started to get the last several years is I yearned for being around people like you who you can we haven't seen each other in years and we hit those levels. And here I ended up hitting those levels with this man very quickly, where all of a sudden we got that shit out of the way with, what do you do? And that can then come into the conversation about his passions and the things he's been able to be involved in. And many times he says he doesn't want to feel braggadocious either, but it's instead around the right circle. It's not. Right. It's about, because he's been able to make such a high, and here's his volunteer work he's also been able to tap into. Here's the juvenile programs he's been able to help. And you get around that circle of people, you do deserve to be around those sort of people. No matter who you are, you should be alone is better than being around really lack mindset people who judge you, people who want to belittle you, people who don't get your humor, don't get your heart, who could think you're a racist for making a joke, who don't know your spirit and your heart very well. That's when you learn, I don't need that friendship. It's that way with even female friendships could be hard for certain females, because you feel like if there's any sort of, I guess if insecurities is deeper in that, that's what you could trigger in someone, is the fact that you're doing something that, I have a girlfriend who's like, it's so nice, and she feels it's rare to have a friend like me. She's a very fit woman and she looks great. And we can go to the gym, and I know I'm less than the physical form than she's been able to work her butt off to do. That's her passion and drive. She's done every day, twice a day, and earn that. And yet anyone who finds that insecure could feel like that attention and energy she pulls from even just her form creates that narcissistic side where if you're a lesser energy, you're not going to want to lift her up.
Right.
There's this tendency as human nature to push that down and put a cloud on it. Yeah. And con permiso.
See.
Allergies.
Okay. I don't know if that was Italian or Spanish.
It was Spanish.
Not to cut you off.
Cut me off.
We have reached the end of our...
Have we really?
Yeah, it's been an hour.
No, it hasn't.
Yes. But I wrap-up question now.
Wow.
You got to come back again.
We're doing it.
Do you have any updates on the murder mystery that you can quickly give us? Has anything else transcribed? Have you begun the book about it? Have you done any more First 48 or Dateline interviews?
I have not done, probably in 4 years there was a show that I did do. Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, timeline-wise, since, we flew to Gettysburg, and this one was on, probably still is on Hulu.
Okay.
Gosh, you do so many murder shows, you forget the titles.
I can't believe no one's approached you at a crime podcast yet.
I have been on a crime podcast.
Right, but like a whole series, like just on you guys, I think like a limited series would be.
Yeah, true. There's a lot of potential with the story. At least I do believe. To wrap it up, he's still rotting in prison, so that's great. His daughter is doing great, which is, I think, very important to speak about because she lost her mother to him murdering her. Mm-hmm. And she is doing wonderful. She's at a university in Texas, which is kind of cool because that's where my family is. So she went from Mississippi to Texas, and she's just thriving. And she has humor that deals with, I think, life's difficulties, and she has that genius of it, which is a gift. And that show on Hulu was cool because it was more of a perspective that was a little more on the end with my mom, which is the irony that it was over life insurance policies and him earning income from that, from each death benefit. Mm-hmm. And that's that funny, I was going to say, full circle of what I get to be involved in now is that's one of the financial portfolios I can help someone with.
Right.
Life insurance.
Life insurance is the fastest path to wealth, everybody. That and real estate. I know that.
You do?
I'm no expert, but I know that.
Well, it is very funny that now I find myself being like, I'm just going to be a good fiduciary with finance and do what my uncle didn't do, which is the other side of that, which is use life insurance to murder people and gain.
Right. One way or another, you're making some money off of life insurance.
Just like family.
Before you go kill anybody, guys, it takes 24 months for your life insurance to kick in. Don't ask me how I know that. And I have one more question for you. This is how we end the last season.
Depends on your life insurance.
What is the best meal that you've ever had in your whole life?
Gosh, I don't know why it just came up to my head as like a nice ice cream with whipped cream.
Okay. That's a meal? That's a dessert?
No, I love...
That could be a bonus answer.
All right. The bonus answer. The real answer was probably when I went to Mexico, and it was homemade tortillas with all-you-can-eat lobster.
Like fresh out of the water?
Just fresh out of the water.
Fresh out of the water lobster tortillas.
And I of course, bit the holes in the tortillas in the mouth.
Of course.
And was going while eating lobster. And that was a great meal.
So were you making like lobster burritos or lobster tacos?
All of it.
Just all of it?
We took all those. We took tortillas back to the hotel. We threw them on our friend who was sleeping and missed that incredible dinner.
Clearly.
Tortillas for days, man. And lobster. I love my seafood. So that was probably one of my favorites.
Awesome.
Isaac, I can't believe it was an hour.
I can't either. I've been doing longer podcasts lately, and I find myself not being motivated to edit a 2-hour podcast, so I'm restricting them to an hour now. So it makes it more enjoyable for me.
We're leaving you with, like the shirt at someone's house you want to return to. Oh, I left my article of clothing. I have to come back.
I'm an old smelly hoodie.
You're my smelly hoodie.
Come back and wear it any time.
Come back and wear you.
I would love for you to come back, reoccurring, whatever. Come back and chat with me whenever.
Much love for you.
Let's go to a cigar lounge and catch up.
I might just invite you to that spot.
And I might invite you to my spot.
Oh.
Yum, 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 yum. Plug all your stuff real quick. So if you want anybody to find you, or if you
just Joy of Laura. If you want, I'm not a big... Bring in the followers, but
they're gonna come
to see
in.
dogs, and they're going to be pouring in. Yeah. But Joy of Laura.
Sweet.
That's the Insta handle.
All right.
That's it.
Joy of Laura, everybody. Go give her a follow. And if you need some fadoosh.
to work on your fun-nance.
Fun-nance your fadoosh.
With your fadoosh.
Yeah. You're a big Fadoosh. You're the biggest fadoosh I know. Fadoosh. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you next time. Look out for snakes.
This show's a piece of shit.